breaking down the WNBA's CBA negotiations, key issues, and what's at stake. With the collective bargaining agreement, CBA, between the WNBA and the UNBA, Women's National Basketball Players Association, set to expire on October 31st, the two sides agreed last Thursday to a 30-day extension for negotiations. Over a year ago, the UNBA decided to opt out of the CBA signed in January of 2020. The decision reflected that a lot has changed for the WNBA and its players over this 5-year span. This was all before a global pandemic forced the league into a bubble season in Florida. Before Candace Parker won a championship with her hometown team in Chicago, and before Becky Hammon returned to the league, she played in to coach the Aces to 3 championships. Before the New York Liberty broke their 28-year championship curse, and before young stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese took the league to new heights. What was once a 12-team league back in 2020 is now expanding again. With all of that change, an influx of revenue has come into a league which has struggled for years on the business side. In addition to 6 new expansion teams total being added by 2030, the league signed an 11-year, $2.2 billion media deal with Disney, Amazon, and NBC Universal that will begin in 2026. Other media partners, including Scripps and Versant, have also signed deals with the league for 2026 and beyond. And as a result, players opted out to fight for a share of the new money that they believe they deserve amid changing circumstances for the league. In the months leading up to the initial October 31st deadline, tensions flared. It began with the WNBA taking until June to respond to a proposal the UNBA sent out in February. Then at least 40 players attended an in-person CBA-related meeting in July during WNBA All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis that was more about listening and didn't yield to satisfaction from the union. The players wore "Pay Us What You Owe Us" t-shirts a few days later during the All-Star game. And then months later during the playoffs, Lynx star Nafisa Collier put WNBA leadership, including Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, on blast after her team was eliminated from the postseason right before the WNBA Finals. Strains between the players and the league had deepened, setting the stage for what we're witnessing right now.
Today,
what are both the players and the league looking for in this CBA? Now, let's examine each side's main objectives, beginning with the players. The players are looking for substantial salary increases in addition to an updated revenue-sharing model where their salaries are tied directly to the fluctuations in the business. In addition to revenue sharing and higher salaries, players are looking for charter flights to officially be codified after Commissioner Engelbert began the charter program in the middle of the previous CBA in 2024. Also, players are looking for official language in the new CBA that requires professionalized standards across all teams. This could mean that no WNBA franchise is allowed to have their players practice in a rec center, codifying the need for team-specific professional training facilities that are accessible. The players are seeking expansion to roster sizes, whereas the current model of 11 or 12 players, depending on the salary cap, has led to the most injuries in recent memory. The UNBA also aims to negotiate for more support when it comes to family planning for all players along with proper retirement benefits. The league aims to pay the players more while also satisfying its owners and ensuring that there is a functional season in 2026, one that includes a draft lottery, expansion draft, free agency period, and amateur draft before training camps begin in late April. Those desires are quite similar, but where exactly do the schisms lie? Why have the tensions between the players and the league been high? Most of the tensions have been around the discussion over revenue sharing. The UNBA has stated multiple times that the league has been stubborn to push for something that doesn't resemble the previous CBA when it comes to revenue sharing. Is the league saying no to revenue sharing, though? Not exactly. When the 2020 CBA was signed, the league promised revenue sharing for the players if the league was able to hit revenue benchmarks based on the money that was made during the 2019 season. Part of the issue was that months after the 2020 CBA was signed, the COVID pandemic made it difficult for the WNBA to make substantial revenue since fans weren't able to attend games. The abridged explanation is that 17.5% of revenue beyond a specific target would be paid out to the players directly after the season, CBA and salary cap expert Jacob Mox of the 9 Basketball wrote. An additional 17.5% would be added to the pool of money that the league spends on signing players to player marketing agreements, also referred to as PMAs or ALMAs. The remaining 65% goes to the league and its teams. Since the league never hit the revenue target that triggered the revenue sharing, salaries didn't grow beyond the salary cap itself, which in the current CBA rises around 3% each year. The players want a similar system that exists in the NBA. They want money that is directly tied to the business. The players' union wants a capped or a fixed amount of revenue sharing rather than an uncapped revenue sharing model that only is triggered by hitting targets set by the league. So why is the WNBA, its board of governors and most publicly NBA Commissioner Adam Silver refraining from using the word share to discuss the potential increase in WNBA salaries? That brings us to our next question. What makes these negotiations different from what is common across other professional sports? While WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is the public figure that leads and represents the owners in the collective bargaining process on the opposite side of the UNBA, she is not the one who decides directly on revenue sharing. Her bosses are the owners that make up the WNBA and Silver, who then reports to the owners of the NBA. The WNBA's ownership structure is unlike any other in professional sports. 42% of the league is owned by WNBA owners, another 42% is owned by NBA owners, and then 16% is owned by a group of NBA and WNBA owners who double-dipped in addition to public figures like Condoleezza Rice, companies like Nike, and former WNBA and NBA players including Swin Cash, Baron Davis, and Pau Gasol. That 16% was sold as part of a capital raise that Engelbert executed to be able to revamp the league's digital footprint and hire more human capital. Why does this matter for collective bargaining? In practice, this ownership model creates three groups of shareholders who are seeking returns on the league's recent growth, powered by lucrative media rights contracts and the expansion fees paid by new franchises. This becomes especially complicated when there are NBA owners that have grown impatient over the years by how much money they believe they have lost by investing in the WNBA. Journalist Sarah Spain explained on her podcast Good Game recently the ways in which these NBA owners have thought about the WNBA since its inception and why the paternal ownership structure of the WNBA has been complicated. I think there's a positive way to think about it, which is that you've got support from folks for a yet unproven product, and it helped give you the lift you needed to get started, she said. Or the cynical way,